entertaining stuff going to happen today. And without further ado,
this is Mr. Mike Lapis from ArtServe. He's going to tell you a little bit about what he does, and then he's going to open up the floor for everyone to ask questions, for construction proposals, and other education, 360 related stuff in arts and culture topics. So take it away.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Sorry, a few minutes late. We have a sick 4-month-old puppy, so we're running around after work today trying to get her taken care of. I'm going to go through just a brief snippet of what ArtServe is about and what we do. Actually, we're an arts advocacy organization in Michigan. We're statewide. We advocate for individual artists, for over 800, probably anywhere from 800 to 1,000 individual organizations that are nonprofits throughout the state. We also represent over 12,000. Around 20,000 art-centered businesses throughout the state that employ over 75,000 people. So we kind of reach through every corner of the state and have obviously artists and arts advocates throughout. I'm just going to kind of read off the kind of typical, whenever we go somewhere, we have to say this paragraph about ArtServe. So just bear with me while I read from this. ArtServe Michigan is a statewide nonprofit organization leading advocacy for the arts, culture, and arts education in Michigan. We are firmly committed to the critical importance of arts and cultural resources and attracting and retaining talent and business investment, building vibrant communities, and nurturing creativity and innovation in students and classrooms. In its work, our organization represents over 60,000 artists, over 1,000 arts and cultural organizations, and more than 16 statewide arts education associations and their members. ArtServe and its grassroots network seeks to broaden public and private support for arts and cultural policies and funding, including the state's investment in the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs and its program and operational grants. So that's the very boring part about maybe arts funding and public policy in general. May seem not very exciting, but does anyone know about, do we have a lot of public funding in the state for the arts? Does anyone know? Okay, I just want to know where I should start. Well, basically, Michigan's support for the arts and culture in the state began in 1966. We're actually the second state arts council formed with an appropriation of just $5,000. Back in the mid-'60s is when really funding for the arts, including the beginning of the National Endowments for the Arts, really started to ramp up in the United States. Back then, it was all about supporting individual artists in communities. Throughout the years, it's really gone to supporting arts organizations in communities to make sure that those organizations are able to bring a high quality of life to those areas, so people want to live there. Let's see, state support. So state support started at $5,000. We actually went up. We went up and down for a couple of years, all the way to 1995. We're a high of $30.8 million. In 1991, the governor actually recommended getting rid of arts funding. Governor Engler, if you remember him. The arts, the person in my position back then fought to help retain some arts funding. When he ended up bringing back that funding, it was cut to $25.5 million, which was our recent high. In the past 8 years, though, with the state budget problems and the way the economy has gone, we've gone down from $25.5 million in 2001 to just $2.26 million this year. And next year's appropriation actually was bumped up a little bit to $2.56 million. Just kind of a general overview of where we are in the country. Michigan currently ranks 48th out of 50 states, and if you count if you count the 6 protectorates, we're actually 52nd out of 56. And another horrible thought is we have out of all 50 states and 6 protectorates, we have the least amount of staff at a state arts agency with 3 full-time staff. So that's a smaller staff than Guam, which I think has 5 full-time employees. So that's kind of a general fun of where arts and culture have been in the state. Arts education is also what we advocate for. Arts education is kind of different, and there's never been really specific funding that has gone to arts education in Michigan. Public education in Michigan is funded through a per pupil allotment that the state gives to communities. So if there's, I think right now it's around $7,200, $7,500 per student. If there's a school with 1,000 students, they get that money, and the district spends how it wants to. Well, now since budgets have decreased, per pupil allotment was cut $200 last year. Some of that was restored this year. But as districts receive less and less funding, lose students to their parents moving out of state, the first thing they cut tends to be band, orchestra, visual arts, literary arts. What we've done is essentially try and make sure that every student in Michigan has access to high quality sequential arts education through pre-kindergarten all the way up through high school. Just kind of getting to the basics, I guess, of just to talk about why we fund the arts. I think there's a couple different issues that you can go about at it. There's the quality of life issue, the economic argument, and as well as the arts education issue. Studies have shown, and these are recent studies within the past year or two, that kids our age nowadays, instead of looking for a job first, you look for a place to live. And what the arts do is allow communities to have a high quality of life. Towns that, like right now, we're walkable communities. There's things to do at night. You don't walk out of your door, out of your office door, and go home and shut the door, go back to work the next day. Cultural organizations, together with the contribution of individual artists and the creative industries, contribute significantly to the vitality of communities large and small. These resources are interwoven in Michigan's past, present, and future. The economic argument is a little bit better, a little stronger. In fiscal year 2006, just so you know, whenever the state grants money, organizations have to match that grant with a 1-to-1 match. So if they received a grant of $50,000, they have to come up with $50,000 to match that. So there's a total of $100,000. Well, in fiscal year 2006, when funding was at $10 million, the 800 organizations that were funded by the State Arts Council brought in over $280 million in private matching funds. And those are dollars that are spent in the state, in the local communities, that don't go out of state to other manufacturers or anything like that. Just as a contrast, in fiscal year 2010, with their funding at $2.26 million, those organizations brought in $177 million. So you can see as the funding drops, so too does the money that we're able to leverage the state dollars with private dollars. The State Arts Council and their 800 clients directly support 14,000 local jobs. Those are the jobs that work directly with the nonprofit organizations receiving grants, and they support over 70,000 artists that are contracted through the grants. So not only are we putting money back into the economy, but we're also creating jobs and obtaining jobs. I think at a time where our state's at the 13.1% unemployment rate, I think it's important that the state show support for every single job that we have, and not start to pick winners and choosers. Arts tourism is huge in Michigan. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation actually put out released a study last year that was conducted in 2008 that showed that Michigan's arts and cultural organizations contribute to 15% toward in-state tourism revenues. It's about $1.8 billion a year. So contrast that with $1.8 billion a year tourism revenue, yet only $3 million, less than $3 million in funding. So it's really, instead of, a lot of people call it state support for the arts, it's really, in this case, the arts kind of supporting the state with all that they're putting back into the economy. The Arts and Cultural contributes over $1.5 billion each year to the state personal income, just another funding issue there. And the last thing that I mentioned was arts education. You know, as schools and districts begin to cut arts education, it's the nonprofit organizations that are stepping up to fill that void, because with many parents throughout the state, they don't have the money to pay for music lessons or to ensure that they have visual art or that they're in a drama class. A lot of these nonprofit organizations are dipping into their already stressed budgets and providing these services for little less to students. So another way of the state being help supported by nonprofits. At the end of the day, it's really being a partner with a nonprofit and the state. The nonprofits are doing what the state cannot at a fraction of the cost. So it's the state, I don't want to say reimbursing, but the state supporting part of that work. Rose had mentioned one of the questions about that we're so important, and we all know that the arts are important to Michigan, but we're always the first to be cut. Well, part of that reason is we don't really have a threat. The Detroit Institute of Arts isn't going to say, you know what, you guys aren't going to fund us, we're going to go to Cincinnati. And all of these organizations in Michigan are here to stay. We've developed roots here. We're funded through local foundations, local businesses. You know, we really don't have that threat like Electrolux a couple of years ago out in West Michigan, who they built refrigerators, who said the state went in there and they were threatening to move to Mexico. The governor went in there and said, you know, here we're going to give you 30 years 30 years tax credit. You won't have to pay any taxes. They had union concessions, all kinds of stuff. Yet the company came back and said, we've never seen concessions like this before, but you just can't make up for workers in Mexico that'll make $1.50. So just an example of that's one of the reasons why we get cut. You know, I think often in Michigan, legislators think of kind of the perceived importance as to how they appropriate dollars in the state. So that they perceive importance instead of actually looking at what the state gets back from that investment. You can see with a $3 million investment, all of the amount of money that we put back into the state's economy. Right now, I mean, it's really kind of a with this legislature, you can throw as many amount of numbers and figures at them as you want, but they just don't get it. They'll say they support the arts, but they don't seem to want to support the jobs that those organizations come here. They think that this $3 million that they give us is going to hang art on the wall, which much of our work has been to educate them. Well, why should the state fund the arts? I think that's a little easier question, easier answer. I mean, we talked about all the economic benefits. Grants to local arts and cultural organizations are just another tool that the state provides to the communities to ensure that they thrive. You know, the state providing support to the arts is almost like how the state provides money to the University of Michigan or any other higher education schools. The state has a commitment and has an interest in making sure that it has a well-educated public so that it can attract businesses here. Well, the state also has an interest in many other things. That included is providing support for our local arts and cultural organizations to ensure that they help provide the quality of life to communities that people look for when they're moving to places. So it's